of the most difficult things about doing it?
As far as I'm concerned,
The hashtag is a way that you can search into what adults want.
website.
Hi Cosmo, I've heard about the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance. I've heard some people talking about it, and I'm not too sure about it. Can you fill me in on exactly what that is?
Well, the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance is a scheme that's run by the government, set up by the government. It's been going a good long time. It's not a new thing, where people are encouraged to start businesses, provided the businesses meet the criteria that they need. And in the period of startup, i.e. in the first 2 years, they get financial support from the government in this thing called the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance. Now, effectively, the way it works is that if you are eligible, and we talk about the eligibility now in a minute, and if your business passes muster, in other words, if it's sustainable, if you are capable of running the business, or if the business seems like a runner, I suppose is the simple way of putting it, you will be approved for the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance. And then essentially what happens is you get the equivalent of your payment for the first 52 weeks, and then you get 75% of your payment for the next 52 weeks. So effectively, you're getting 104 euros worth of income, which isn't taxed. It's not taxed under the scheme, in order to give you momentum to keep you going and while you develop the business. And the plan and the theory behind it is that the business, very few businesses actually have enough money to keep people going from the start. So you're not a burden on the business for all of your living expenses and all your family and all of that while the business starts developing. So that's the way it works. There are rules about whether you can get involved in it. You have to get in contact with your local DSP case officer and ask whether you fit the eligibility criteria. And basically, you have to be getting your job seekers allowance or job seekers benefit for at least 234 days. And that's the rules. It's about 9 months. There's other things about it in terms of the eligibility or whether you're going to be eligible, but basically that's a conversation with DSP. It's not for this conversation. And what happens then is that you get approved. The business is approved. And then you have to go to your local development company, and that might be a partnership. And you're assigned an enterprise officer, and the enterprise officer's job is to check out you and your business to make sure that the business is viable. The type of thing that is not viable is that if you are setting up a business that is going to replace an existing business. So take, for example, let's say you were in a town and there was already 3 window cleaners. It would be totally and utterly unfair for you to be a government-sponsored window cleaner, putting the other 3 out of business. So there is this thing that you cannot be replacing existing businesses. Now, some businesses fall down on that, but it's worth thinking about and trying to make the case as to how your business is going to be different. So if you're going to be doing something fantastic, like saying a window cleaning via a drone, it might be acceptable. But a lot of people find it sort of outrageous that they're going along and their business is, they're prevented from getting onto the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance because of this thing that you can't be replacing existing businesses. There's all sorts of other rules around it, but there's a couple of things that are worth remembering. Is that if you're getting onto the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance, you are giving away the right to have a part-time job as well. So don't forget, one of the things we say on the Start Your Own Business courses is, unless there's some odd reason like the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance, there's nothing to stop you as you're developing your business to have a part-time job. You can't do that in BTWA except in very special circumstances if you're involved in lecturing or something like that. So the mystery to it is that people feel that it's a test and they're going to pass or fail, but actually it's more complex than that, because the whole point of the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance process is to make sure that you in 2 years' time are not going to be literally a burden on the state. So a certain amount of effort and time is put in. In certain areas, the DSP insists you do a start your own business course. In certain areas, you have to do other courses on top of that, like you might have to do a tax course. And it varies from area to area. But what they're really doing is they're not torturing applicants. What they're doing is they're making sure that you have the skills, or the applicant has the skills and the knowledge and the attitude, actually, in order to get up and go and stop being on any benefit at all and start being self-employed. The system works very, very well. There's an awful lot of people who go through it, and an awful lot of quite big businesses have been started with it. It's not a new thing. It's just a thing that people don't talk about very much. And I've actually tackled DSP officers. I've spoken to them. In fact, we've given them training courses about why it is that people don't make a fuss about it, because it's such a good scheme. But nobody can answer that. I don't know why that is. Does that sort of answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Very informative. So it's really for somebody that's starting up their own business. They won't be employed, or it won't apply if they're going to be employed by somebody else.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And have you got a viable, self-sustaining business that you can go ahead and use? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Cosmo. Cheers.
Great stuff. Bye now.